It's all good if you're in that chaos. It's just part of the process.
You may just be in growth. You are growing. If I get to the other side of that, don't I just have a new comfort zone?
So are you telling me that I have to just be in chaos all the time?
Maybe.
So it's more like being okay with the chaos, being comfortable in the chaos.
It's interesting. You remember that pandemic thing that happened?
Yeah,
You remember that?
I do. How could I forget?
Yeah, it was a really obviously it was an interesting time. That's the nice way to put it. But in looking back in this retrospect, I find that I found this new sort of comfort zone inside of it. Because I think we all had to go to whatever felt comfortable and safe to us, right? And in the ensuing couple of years, 3, 4 years, however long it's been, because I don't even know how long it lasted, because time has no meaning anymore. But I feel like I got actually stuck in that comfort zone and sort of wondering why things weren't growing or progressing in the way that maybe I hoped they would, but not really thinking about, oh, well, maybe I'm just stuck in my comfort zone. And I would dip my toe out and maybe try something new or, go down some road. But I think I pretty quickly would duck my head back in like a turtle in my shell. Not purposefully. And I wasn't like thinking about this, of course, at the time. I'm sort of looking back at it. And then you fast forward a little bit to this year where I've taken on a much larger commitment to growing my business and not paying attention to other things that I have previously put a lot of attention on. And I found and still do. I mean, my level of uncomfortableness is off the charts, really. And like at times it just feels chaotic. It feels like I don't know what's happening. I'm just doing stuff. Now, that's not what's actually happening, right? Like it's purposeful. If I stop and I zero in and I look at it, what are the facts? There's a plan. I'm working a plan. It's all going, but it feels chaotic and uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I'm trying to think of times when I'm not in that space.
Because it just always feels that way.
Yeah. No, I definitely know what you mean. And it's very uncomfortable. And it forces you back into that comfort zone. And I think of one of the best examples of this is like if you're doing something on your own and you're taking a risk and you're walking the tightrope. It just forces you back into like, I need a stable thing. I just need a job. I need it like, and that's not always the wrong move at all. But
no,
that's a good example of like in the chaos, it pushes you back towards something that's reliable, that's stable. And every time I go through chaos, the other side is growth. Like
I mean, I think that's how you know you're okay. Like that, somebody drew me a diagram, right? With comfort zone, this circle in the middle, and growth, this big circle outside of it. And the thing in the middle was chaos.
Yeah.
And it actually helped me to see that. I thought, oh, all that's happening is I'm growing. Like I am actually in growth.
Right.
And I know that because it feels like chaos and it feels uncomfortable. If it felt comfortable, I wouldn't be growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was somehow, that just made me feel better about it.
Yeah. It justifies the chaos, which really, when you break down chaos, it's like that can look like many different things, but it's really just your brain and your whole system trying to control the outcome and guide you to somewhere safe, but you don't know
Right.
where that is and you don't know how you're going to get there exactly. You don't know if it's going to work out. So it's chaos, it's overwhelm, it's lack of clarity, it's all that stuff, stress, anxiety, like
Yeah.
that's all can be a part of the chaos. And
Right. And
I think
uncertainty and the unknown and all of that. Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing you say with this visual, which really sits well with me, is like it's all good if you're in that chaos. It's not
Yeah.
the world is ending and you are going to be homeless, like
Right.
where everyone's mind goes, like the worst case
Yeah.
situation. It's just part of the process.
Yeah. Although it may feel that way, it may feel like the wheels are coming off the bus. They may not be. You may just be in growth. So
Yeah.
I notice for myself, my certainty anchors are much more important.
Mm,
So those things, whatever they are, the daily practices, the things I do with my family, something like a meditation practice, or when I normally walk the dog, or whatever that happens to be, those become ever more important because those are not chaos, right? Those are the things
yeah.
that I can ground myself in when everything else feels totally ungrounded.
I couldn't agree more. That's, gosh, yeah, routine and structure is so important for it, almost like allows you to have room for the inevitable chaos, but you
Mm.
can get to the other side, you can get to the growth instead of completely coming unwound and bailing out.
I wonder the way you just said that. You can get to the other side, you can get to the growth. Maybe that's not how that works. I'm just thinking of this. Like
Yeah, it's definitely not
when you're
linear.
in, yeah, when you're in chaos, right? To just keep you terming it that way, whatever that is, uncomfortable, whatever. You are in growth. You
Yeah,
are growing, right?
yeah, yeah.
If I get to the other side of that, don't I just have a new comfort zone?
Nice. Oh, now we're talking about like the gap. We talked about that
Yeah, doesn't
previously.
the comfort zone just change and then maybe I hang around in there a while and maybe that zone expands, right? It's gotten bigger or
Yeah.
something or it just looks different, but then there's the next whatever.
Wait.
And as I step out of that comfort zone again and into the next whatever, well, here I am. I'm back in the chaos.
So are you telling me that I have to just be in chaos all the time?
Maybe.
Okay. So
I don't
it's more
know.
like being okay with the chaos. Being comfortable in the chaos.
Maybe I'm trying to think of this in terms of this, these recent events we've been through, fairly recent, because I was thinking about what my life looked like in 2018 and 2019, and I was very busy. I was, running all over the place and things were going pretty well. I felt like there was a trajectory. I felt like things were moving in a direction, right? And I can't say that, is anybody really comfortable all the time? No, of course not. I can't say I was, without ever feeling uncomfortable, but it didn't feel like this. And then everything stops. The world gets real weird. We all, in our way, sort of retreat. I think everybody,
Hmm.
to some extent, you retreat. I say we. I'll just talk about me, my household, my inner circle, create this sort of new normal for ourselves, if you will, right? And my new normal doesn't include some of the things I used to do for work.
Yeah.
So then when I go along, I'm just kind of doing what I'm doing. And it's comfortable, it's easy, it's not particularly challenging.
Right.
Siri is talking to me. Siri has decided that I wanted to know the definition of particularly challenging. So she just said that something that is difficult is not easy to do, understand, or deal with. Thank you so
Wow.
much, Siri, for your participation in our podcast. That was weird. Big Brother's listening.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my big brother sounds like an Irish woman, so that's how I have Siri set.
That's funny.
So it feels like in this case, and maybe it's always like this, this is sort of an exploration. In this case, my comfort zone was like a contraction. You know, I was sort of expanding. I had this thing. I was smoothly kind of expanding what I was doing, and it was morphing into the next thing. There was some momentum around it, and then I had to, right? But I contracted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I pulled back. Everything got contracted, and I heard someone say once, "You are either contracting or expanding. You can't do both." And I think maybe I just stayed contracting to some extent and without knowing I was doing it. Maybe I thought, oh, I'm going to push here a little bit or I'm going to push there a little bit. But I was still staying in that more contracted place. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I can relate.
But then when you start to expand, that's when it gets uncomfortable. That's when you start to push out and it starts to push back, a little bit.
I think that this is obviously nothing new again, but basically if you're comfortable all the time and know every little detail of everything that's happening in your life, you're probably in that comfort zone. And maybe it's time to explore some chaos and figure out what that looks like for you. And yeah, because we don't want to be contracting forever.
No, there's a time for that. I think there's a time for that for people to pull back sometimes and take a look around and then forge ahead again. But just know that when you forge ahead again and your head is spinning and you don't know where you are, you're probably doing the right thing. You're growing. That wraps another episode of The Subtle Art of Not Yelling, your home for creative growth.
If our words have resonated with you, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It means a lot and helps us reach more creative entrepreneurs.
Join us next week as we continue to explore the art of quietly becoming a creative superpower and thriving without yelling.
Until then, keep nurturing your ideas, honing your craft, and shipping your work.
Because amazing things happen on the other side of finished.